Welcome to the Pathways to Success. I'm Julian Placino, recruiting professional turned success speaker, show host, and media entrepreneur. This show is dedicated to helping you find your unique pathway to success by having conversations that educate, inspire, and transform. Together, we'll interview some of the world's greatest leaders and uncover their secrets to success. Thanks for tuning in, and on to the show. Welcome to episode 213 of the Pathways to Success, where we have conversations with inspiring leaders about their mission and their keys to success. I'm Julian Placino, your host, and we have a terrific show in store for you today. It is my pleasure to welcome Dan Hooper, founder and executive director at ScholarShot, and Nathalie Flores, Scholar Ambassador at ScholarShot. Dan and Nathalie, welcome to the Pathways to Success. How are you?
Great to be with you.
And it is great to be with you here as well. And as I mentioned before we started rolling, the more I learn about ScholarShot, the more I believe in the impact that you are making, and I'm very excited to dig in further.
Great, well, let's do that.
So Dan, you are the founder and executive director at ScholarShot. Tell us, what is ScholarShot?
ScholarShot is a Dallas-based college completion program. We take students from all over North Texas from the lowest economic segment and help them exit generational poverty with a career-ready degree. And a career-ready degree to us is a vocational certificate, an associate degree, or an undergraduate degree.
Gotcha. So what is the problem that ScholarShot seeks to solve?
The problem that we are addressing is a significant gap between our economics where employers are desperate for degrees and diversity, and our education system, which has not moved in the direction of producing degrees. And the emphasis in high school is get your diploma. After that, you're on your own. And our universities say, well, gosh, we've enrolled these kids, but if they're not ready, it's not our fault. And they'll tell you when a young man or woman drops out, well, we are not responsible for the economic status or the academic outcome of our students.
Gotcha. Natalie, how would you describe to your peer group and, of course, through your experience, what ScholarShot is?
ScholarShot is a safe place where you can go ahead and ask your questions, ask wherever you're stuck in college, because being a first-generation student, it can be hard. At school, you don't really get the help you really need to in order to find the right school for you, get the right financial assistance. School doesn't really look at the financial assistance that you're looking for. If you really want to go to a four-year school, but you're looking at maybe $10,000 a semester, you can only afford $3,000 a semester. ScholarShot does help with a lot with that, definitely giving you advice and making the right choice.
That's great. So further unpack that in terms of how does ScholarShot solve the problem? Dan.
Our focus is on what is best for the student and the student's success. The system is more designed to make the system look good, but at the risk of our students. So, for example, at ScholarShot, we see hundreds of high school seniors from North Texas every year, right around their high school graduation, and they say, I'm going to, and I'm not picking on these institutions, but UT Arlington or Texas Tech. And we say, great, let's look at your financial offer. And what we see is that this young man or woman has $9,000 or $10,000 in grants, $5,000 or $6,000 in loans, but they're going to a school that's $26,000 or $29,000 a year, all in. And we ask them, how are you going to cover that difference? And they look at us and say, well, I've already met my roommate. Nobody told me that I don't have enough money. And why would no one tell me? And the answer is, they don't really know themselves and they don't care. Our system is designed for enrollment without a measure of outcomes, and we need to be much more outcome focused.
And what are some of the statistics that inspired you to start ScholarShot?
Well, I come from a consulting background. Our key deliverable was data strategy, and so kind of a data person. Went to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board and got a mountain of spreadsheets and started sifting through the data and discovered, for example, only 23% of freshmen that get the Texas grant, about a $7,000 a year grant, only 23% come back as sophomores. And I asked the representative there, is this right? And she said, yes, that's right. Well, what are you doing about it? Well, we're not here to do anything about that. We just collect the data. So that was in 2009, and that really inspired, gosh, we've got to do something. I had been involved in several inner-city ministries in Dallas and K through 12, primarily after-school mentoring and tutoring, and wondered what happens to these kids who have very little or no support at home when they want to go to college. And the answer is, in our state, 9 out of 10 first-generation low-income kids who enroll in college drop out. And that's a tragic setup that we can't afford any longer.
Wow. Natalie, I'm curious from your perspective. So what would you say is the outlook that some of your peers have had about the possibility of going to college?
Definitely, when I was in high school, everyone was excited to start doing their applications, their college apps, but when they got towards the financial side, a lot of people decided maybe not to go because they were like, how am I going to cover this? My parents can't help me. They barely make it to pay rent. It was definitely a hard situation. I had friends that attended first-year universities, and they were able to cover the first semester, but then once they looked at the second semester, that's where they were like, what do I do? How do I cover this? I can't pay for it. And sadly, I had a lot of friends that have dropped out of school because, like I said, our school failed us to tell us how to like balance out our money, see what other options we had, but they only pushed us to four-year universities, which is not a bad thing, but also you really have to look at the financial assistance.
Yeah, and that is one of the leading areas that we address. So we want our scholars to go to schools where they fit financially, academically, and then socially, emotionally. So, let's say you are a young Hispanic male and you want to go to Texas Tech or to UT Austin or A&M, but you also are the primary translator for your family. Mm-hmm. And we ask these students, have you ever been away from home? And most kids would say, yeah, I lived with an aunt for a month and worked somewhere, or I went to camp. And these kids look at us and say, what do you mean? Have I ever been away from home? They've never left home. And so does the idea make sense for this young man or woman to go 6 hours away? Mm-hmm. We've heard advisors say, oh, I want kids to go so far away that they can't come home for Thanksgiving because they need to break from their families. And that's just flawed advisement. And that's where ScholarShot has put a stake in the ground to say, what is best for the student's success to maximize his or her potential, not what is to make the system itself look good.
So it seems like a few things to me. There's kind of this coaching and advisory piece. There's also the connecting to helping them fund their college education. But if you were to break them up into bullet points, ScholarShot will help you achieve what? What would you say?
ScholarShot, as I mentioned, is a degree completion, not a college access, but a degree completion program.
Right.
A significant shift in our market today is employers don't care where you got a degree. Mm-hmm. The interview is, do you have a degree? Can you do the work? When can you start? There are 14% more jobs in our economy than there are people to fill them. Mm-hmm. So our primary objective is to make sure, first and foremost, wherever this young man or woman is going, they're going to succeed there. Secondly, we provide a lot of hands-on guidance during the course of their education because, again, the college system is not designed to help individual students. It's designed as a one-size-fits-all. Young men and women, 18 and 19-year-olds in general, don't know how to advocate for themselves. Mm-hmm. So if someone's not banging on their door, they're not going to show up in a counselor's office. But our universities don't bang on college dorms. They should be. They don't text students. They should be. So we fill those gaps and make sure that our students understand that they're at a school where they are academically a fit, that they're financially okay, and that they fit from a worthiness, social, emotional standpoint.
I love that. As far as the services, as far as you mentioned, there's an element of hand-holding and guiding you through the process. Nathalie, how would you describe that has benefited you? What did that look like, and what are some of the results in your educational career?
Sure. So, at some point in my high school life, I wanted to give up because I kept getting rejection letters from universities, and I knew that wasn't the best fit for me. And well, teachers weren't telling me you should go this other route. Teachers were just pushing me to go to a 4-year and just do better on my ACT, SAT scores. But the thing was with me, I was just having a hard time, and I really wanted to give up. But then ScholarShot came in, I applied, I got accepted. They really helped me navigate through different paths that I could take, and I decided to take my 2-year path, which I don't regret. It helped me transition from high school to college and learn how to time manage my time, because in high school I was terrible. I never did like my homework on time. So definitely ScholarShot gave me those really big key points. I felt comfortable at the school that I was at, felt welcome. If I ever had any questions, I could always contact my academic manager, which she was in charge, and she knew who I was. It wasn't like at an advisor from college where they speak to almost 300 students a day, and you may get 5 minutes out of their time, and sometimes they don't even answer your questions. So ScholarShot did help me with that. Every time I have a question about school or anything else, I have my academic manager to go to. So definitely the piece of advice that you get from them is really helpful. I also got to have my first internship with ScholarShot with Charles Schwab, and it was such a great experience. I got to learn many different stuff of how to work in a Big 4 company, and I just look forward to keep growing.
Wow, that's incredible. It seems like at the very beginning they really guided you and helped you navigate the process, because applying to college is overwhelming, especially when you don't have access to resources and all that. And it seems like it's been instrumental in that regard and helped you produce a very specific result, an internship at Charles Schwab. That's incredible.
Yes, I learned a lot from that, and I just want to keep on learning, and will tell other students, help other students not be in the same hole that I was in, because it can get nerve-wracking, and at some point you feel like you can't do it anymore. But truth is, anybody can do it. There's people out there like Dan that really want to help students out and graduate and get that degree. Like he said, it doesn't matter what school you go to, because jobs don't look at that. They want the experience, and when can you start? They don't care what school you go to. Just really want to see that you're talented and you really want to keep going forward.
That is excellent. That is
so
excellent.
What Nathalie is touching on is what advisement is there. And in all fairness to advisors, the ratio of students is typically 400 or 500 to every one advisor. So they don't have time for individual guidance. And also they'll tell you, I'm in crisis mode. I've got freshman girls that think they might be pregnant. I've got young men whose father's just been reincarcerated. I don't have time for college career. I wish I did. But the reality is there are significant flaws because our state has not established a basic definition of success for advisement. And for kids that can't afford a 4-year school, 2-year start is a perfect path to take. Advisors, however, say don't do that because A, it makes us look better if you make a 4-year start, and B, rightly so, only 34% of the kids that enroll in a 2-year school complete. At ScholarShot, over 90% complete, because we've told them this is not plan B, this is not a short coming for you, this is a path to success. You'll take the same courses as a freshman and sophomore will in a 4-year school, but at a third of the cost. If you need remediation, that's provided by a 2-year school, not at a 4-year school, and you can transfer to that shiny object in a 4-year school as a junior with your confidence up, with your GPA up, and no debt. And that's what Nathalie is succeeding in doing. In fact, I think you're starting this spring.
Yes, I'm currently a junior, so.
With no debt.
Yes, no debt. Yeah.
What was that stat one more time? You mentioned 90%.
90% of the ScholarShot scholars succeed in getting a degree, and about 40% of our students make a 2-year start and then go on and complete a 4-year undergraduate degree. Again, they do it without debt and with a lot more confidence in themselves because they've grown in the process. We've given them time to grow.
I think we've definitely unpacked a lot of the what behind what ScholarShot does and how it helps participants. But I am actually curious about your personal reason, Dan. What is your personal reason why? Why are you so connected to the work that you're doing here at ScholarShot?
Well, as I mentioned, there's a data element, and there's the God element. I feel very blessed by the opportunity to make these generational changes in the lives of these great young men and women. And we are a faith-based organization. It's not a requirement for our scholars or employees. But I think that's an important element for a young person, particularly from a first-generation low-income household, to know that they are a God-given holder of potential and gifts that are meant to be explored and maximized. And while I respect young men and women that go work in the food industry right out of high school, go work as a mechanic perhaps, with just a high school diploma alone in today's economy, that's a path to poverty. And we need our kids to be thinking about at least a one-year vocational certificate after high school to exit poverty.
Wow. I think that is a beautiful reason why, and I think you have such an interesting background to be able to spot the problem and create a solution for it. And I can definitely get on board with the faith-based aspect to what you just mentioned.
Right.
So Dan, before we kind of shift gears and learn a little bit more about Nathalie and also her experience with the organization, what else have we not covered about the what of ScholarShot?
Well, the what has been helping students from North Texas exit poverty. But the data that we're collecting from our scholars, right now roughly 150 active scholars, that data has told us that there are significant systemic shortcomings and gaps that are present statewide. And so ScholarShot has launched 2 statewide initiatives to challenge the 2 root causes in our observation as to why so few of our high school graduates even attempt a post-secondary credential, less than half, and less than a third, only 29%, succeed. And one of those initiatives is the University Report Card. So we measure the 38 public campuses of 4-year schools in our state on an A through F grading system on how well they engage or not first-generation low-income students. Not many make our list, which is published as A and B. The other area that we're addressing is this gap in advisement. The fact that fewer than half our kids even make an attempt tells us there's a big gap in advisement. We've invested as Texas taxpayers $150,000 in each K through 12 education. We should expect something better than a poverty wage or low employability. And for our kids, why not expect something that maximizes their potential? But the fact that only 49% even attempt and only 29% succeed tells us there's a real gap in advisement. And we'll talk in a bit about the GAP app that we're releasing, but that's to be available to any Texas high school senior, parent, or counselor statewide starting the 1st of December, so just in a couple of weeks, on what are my academic gaps and what are my financial gaps. 30 seconds survey on a mobile app, and a student can have that information for any of the schools they plan to go to, or if they make no plans, to be told, then get a vocational certificate, you'll more than double your wage.
That is an incredible piece of technology, and we'll definitely cover that more. But the whole aspect of the show is how do you help somebody become a leader, like Pathways to Success? And that's why I love what it is that you're doing, because you're helping give access to opportunity to individuals who don't know that it's there for them. And I think in a very tangible way, you are demonstrating the results of that, and I think it's really wonderful. So Nathalie, I want to talk a little bit more about your experience with ScholarShot, because when we had our pre-interview conversation, there was such a dramatic before and after, which you had already began to tease out. So tell us, describe to us, what was life like before ScholarShot?
Before ScholarShot, I was just completely lost in high school. I didn't know. I saw my friends getting accepted into these big schools, A&M, UT Austin, and then I was just there like, I haven't gotten anything. I was sad, and then I was in part of this program where my mentor mentioned that there's this this place called ScholarShot, and I was like, what's ScholarShot? I've never heard of that. And she was like, well, before I knew about what it was, she told me that it was a scholarship that they would help cover my financial needs, and I gave it a try, applied. I was nervous. I was like, I'm not going to get accepted. I haven't gotten accepted anywhere. It's going to be the same thing. And
how many rejections did you have?
A lot, maybe about 5, maybe 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just really sad. And then once I got the email that they wanted to interview me, I was super excited because that was the first time ever I had received an email for an interview. And when I went in for the interview, April, she interviewed me. The interview went well. She was really nice. Made me feel comfortable. I didn't feel nervous at all. Then after a couple of weeks, I received you got accepted into the program. And I remember I told my mom, I was like, look, Mom. And she was like, oh, congratulations. She was really happy for me. And everything just started getting back into place. I met with my academic manager. She spoke to me about going to a 2-year college, and definitely helped me. I learned a lot from a 2-year, how to, like I said, manage my time, how to do the work, because I even remember on my first day, I didn't know where to exactly go to do my homework, so I contacted my academic manager, and I was like, hey, I'm struggling. Where do I find my classes? I don't know where to look for them at. And so definitely, it really helped me. Now I feel even more confident at school. I don't feel lost. I know that if I ever have any questions, I can always go to ScholarShot, and for whatever I need. If I need any financial assistance, or I have something going on like a family crisis, ScholarShot will always be there to help me and not give up.
Can we give a shout out to your mother? Because apparently she and I have met before.
Yeah.
What is her name?
Natalia.
Natalia, it's great to see you again, and thank you for all the support that you showed me throughout my previous work life. So yes. That's great. Mm-hmm. So Natalie, if you were to describe, because there was a gap, you wanted to go to college, right? You couldn't get there. You were facing all sorts of issues, right? If you were to describe the challenge that you were facing, that ScholarShot helped you solve, what would you say that was?
My challenge was definitely not knowing where to start, because my parents didn't go to college, so I definitely didn't know if going to a 4-year was a good fit for me. At some point, I just told myself, you know what, I'm just going to get as loans out. If I have no options to go anywhere else, or I'll just take a year off, like many people say they do. They take a year off and save up money, but most of the time you never end up going back, because once you get your job, you have responsibilities, and you can't leave those responsibilities anymore. And you feel like maybe getting $600, $800 is a lot a week, but in reality, like Dad mentioned, that's one step to poverty. And I was lost. But definitely ScholarShot helped me really make the best decisions for myself. And my mom, I know she's thankful for that. Starting at a 2-year and then transferring, because there is other options, but the schools sometimes they don't tell you, because they want to look good for them but not for the students. Like, you just graduate and they're like, okay, bye, congratulations. But definitely you have to see other options, and ScholarShot always looks at other options.
So talk to us about the money. That's the biggest thing that I would have to say that people struggle with when it comes to funding their education, right? So what would you say is the biggest misconception that you now know the truth about that others may not, in terms of funding your college education?
In terms of funding education, I would say that many people, they know that where they want to go to, but they never look at the financial perspective. And many schools, or if they see you get an acceptance letter, if you're top 10%, that's great, but that top 10% is not going to get you anywhere to help pay that gap later on. And so I'd say that students need to know that they have other options. Organizations are out there that really want to help you out and just succeed in life, because whatever college you go to, it's going to get you wherever you want to go. It's just the experience that you might not get. I attend a small public institution, and I like it because it's small and I get to know all my peers, and in the end I know that I'm still going to receive a good education. And once I graduate, I know that ScholarShot, they'll always be there. It's not going to be a goodbye, it's just going to be you graduated and we want to see you and continue grow.
I love that. Dan, what would you add as far as the money piece of the conversation? Because that's a huge thing that you're solving right now, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want to say about that?
Well, the kids need to know their total out-of-pocket expense for college. Sadly, as I mentioned, we see kids in their senior year, and they think, "Gosh, I'm getting a 10 or 11,000 in grants and 5,000 in loans. I'm good."
Mm-hmm.
And what they don't know is they're $10 or $12 or $14,000 a year after grants and loans short, and there's no way they're going to be able to complete that. And again, in the advisement ranks, we hear, "Oh, you got into school X or Y. That's the best school you can get into. Max out your debt and go." And no, the answer should be save that debt to make a house payment or down payment on a house, or save that debt for graduate school, not in an undergraduate degree, especially when you consider you can get an undergraduate or an associate's degree largely covered by grants and a small amount of loans if necessary. So why push kids to a level where they have virtually no chance to succeed? And as we know, in our state, 9 out of 10 of them drop out. And when you drop out, you're in worse shape than the kids that never tried. You'll have debt. Most kids don't know how much debt they have. You almost always owe your departing school money, which means you can't re-enroll anywhere else. And their grants are frozen until they can complete 15 hours to get back on track. So it's essentially game over when a kid drops out. And if we focused on minimizing those dropouts and maximizing completion, I think we'd have a much better outcome in our state.
Wow. Nathalie, make sort of a final appeal and kind of sum up your experience with ScholarShot to anyone who might be looking at it as an organization that might be a resource to help them in their educational career. Like, what's the answer to that? Why ScholarShot?
Definitely, ScholarShot. They really want to see you succeed. They care about your the financial perspective, and also what career you really want to study in college. Because sometimes, well, in college, I remember I walked in as a nursing major, and then that totally changed. I spoke with my advisor. I was like, "Hey, I don't think nursing's for me. I don't know what I should take." And we saw all of our options. She definitely helped me pick the right major for me, and I'm deciding to go for human resources.
Great.
And I'm really thankful for that. They're always there to help. Doesn't matter if it's a silly question or a question that you may know the answer to, but you just want to see if that answer is true. We really want you to succeed and just keep pushing forward, and they also help in whatever you can. And I definitely want to say that. Thank you to ScholarShot, and thank you, Dan, for helping students like me continue and getting a degree. I'm thankful that I'll be the first one in my family to graduate. I graduated from high school, and I'll be the first one again to graduate from college, and I'm just super excited. I have a cousin that he's going to graduate this year, and I'm mentoring him, telling him about this program, like you should really apply because it's going to help you in the long run, even by getting internships, programs where you can meet other people, networking stuff. Definitely, they always try to look out for you. They just don't look at the financial assistance, but they do look at other options. You always get reminders of, we're gonna have a meeting about so-and-so, you should definitely join. And I'm really thankful for that because there's always something going on with ScholarShot, so they always keep in contact with you.
Awesome. That's really great to hear. So I want to close with one final topic, and it's of course with the technology, the GAP app. And I love this idea of technology because whenever you use it well, you can scalably solve a solution. So tell us, Dan, what is the GAP app?
The GAP app is a mobile application that will tell a high school senior or parents or counselor, based on a best case scenario of grants and loans, this is your total out-of-pocket expense to attend this school. And any public institution in the state of Texas is tracked in the app where a student can see their financial and or academic gaps. And what we're addressing are the two primary audiences coming out of our high school. Sadly, the largest are the kids doing nothing. We're telling them that's a path to poverty. Here are 3 community colleges within 10 or 12 miles of your house. You need to enroll in one and get a vocational certificate. You'll more than double your wage. For the other smaller audience of kids making an attempt, it tells them these schools are a good fit for you financially and academically. These schools are not a good fit. So for our state, we graduate roughly 350,000 high school seniors a year. That's 10% of the national total, so it's a significant number. If only 29% are succeeding in earning a post-secondary credential, which is a critical milestone to exit poverty, that's $37 billion a year our state is investing in a poverty wage or low employability. 248,000 kids that have no post-secondary credential every year times the $150,000 K through 12 investment we've made in them, that's $37 billion that we're willing to say is acceptable as a poverty wage or low employability. We've got to reverse that. We have 2 significant goals. One is 60 by 30, TX 60 by 30, which is put together by the Higher Education Coordinating Board. We have 60% of our youth with a post-secondary credential by 2030. We're not even going to be halfway there at our current rate. And then Texas 2036, which is going to celebrate our bicentennial in 2036, has a goal of 75%. Neither of those we're on track to meet at this point. So the GAP app is to reverse that, get more kids into local community colleges and into schools where they can succeed.
Wow. And is this available now?
It is available at knowmygap.com. That is version 1. Version 2 will be released in early December, so a couple of weeks from now, which will be a fully mobile-based app. You can go to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, search for GAP app, one word, GAP app, and download it there, or go to the ScholarShot.org website or knowmygap.com and download the app there. But our hope is to get at least 10,000 students in the next semester to use the app, collect the data from them on how they're persisting. We already know the rather poor persistence rate of our current state, and compare that and show that improvement to our legislators in the next session to bring about a basic standard of success for advisement from high school, which we don't have right now. And we're seeing the unfortunate outcomes of that.
Wow. So Dan, close us out with some final thoughts. Cast the vision. What is your vision for ScholarShot? What is the impact that you hope to create long term?
You know, that's like asking someone to give me your 20-year plan, but the dream is, the objective is that the next generation of Texans won't need ScholarShot to get their kids into and through some post-secondary credential. We're doing a lot of great things at the state level. There are still some significant gaps that need to be addressed. And best of all, it's not going to cost a lot of money to change the dialogue, to just stop telling people don't go to community college and start telling people, wow, that's a viable path. And some other changes like that we hope to bring about. But every high school senior in the state of Texas should know that he or she needs at least a grade 13 to break from poverty, make a sustainable wage, and change the job workforce supply in our state, which is painfully thin right now.
Well, I think the impact that you're making is absolutely already coming into fruition. I think you have an incredible vision, and what you're doing is great, and I wish you all continued success. And thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, starting with Nathalie. Nathalie, how can our viewers connect with you on social? Tell us that, if you would.
So my LinkedIn is Nathalie Flores, Nathalie Flores, Flores, and that's where you can contact me from.
Awesome, very good. And Dan?
ScholarShot.org. It's all there. Look at our report card, look at the GAP app, give us feedback on the GAP app, and I hope if we were to do this interview 2 or 5 years from now, there'd be a significant improvement in the outcomes of these great kids in our state.
Amazing. And we look forward to that. And we'll make sure to have both of your contact information in the show notes. So thank you all for being here.
Great.
And everyone else, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Pathways to Success. As always, make sure to subscribe, comment, and share. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Pathways to Success.